In a team context, everyone has a voice, but not everyone is heard. I get very excited about the 5 voices because it's easy to grasp, easy to understand, but also easy to teach.
5 voices is a really interesting grid that you can look at yourself and others through that helps you understand what are the main ways that I both see the world, see other people, but also how do people respond to me and the way that I communicate.
The tool is really useful to give us an insight for the ways that we act that affects other people.
It helps me move forward in my relationships, both in my family, but also at work and even in public.
So the quietest voice is the nurturer voice, and their primary concern is for people. It's relational harmony. The next voice would be the creative voice. So they're very, very future orientated. They're constantly looking to what's happening in the future. And as a result, sometimes makes it difficult to connect with some of the other voices who are much more present focused. The third voice is the guardian voice. So the guardian is much more concerned with how do we use resources efficiently? How do we know that this is something that's going to work? So they are the ones who are always asking the difficult questions. And then the fourth voice is the connector voice. The connectors are the people that love just making connections between people and with people. They're the ones who always will have an idea, always know someone that can help out. And then finally, the loudest and potentially most damaging voice is the pioneer voice. And so the pioneers are the masters of logic, of reason. They're strategic thinkers. They're well thought through, but they can be very strong in their opinions. So they don't like it when other people cross them or disagree, because they are usually convinced that their way is the right way.
We make hundreds of decisions every day for all sorts of different things, and our choices has consequences. The voices help us to understand how we work and who we are and the strengths and weaknesses that we have. But also it helps you to give you a little insight on how somebody else might experience you different than intentions you communicate with.
A creative person like myself, first voice, we think in terms of possibilities and brainstorming. Love to talk about ideas and potential. We see far out into the future. When you have people that aren't creatives or don't see the future as much, that's where the frustration and difficulty can happen.
My voice is the pioneer voice. I would tend to clash with John, who's a creative voice. So my pioneer voice, which is all about, let's get it done, how are we going to do this most efficiently, how are we going to get there the fastest, would not necessarily hear when John would come through with what I saw as a very left of field idea. And often, because what he would say didn't seem to be especially relevant to what we were talking about at the time, I found that I would often shut him down.
Pioneer doesn't see the full spectrum of ideas as well, and they want to choose an idea and run with it. Whereas the creative is very happy to keep thinking about the different options and what could be the maximum idea.
As a pioneer, I do care about the future, but I want to know that we can get there. I want to know that it's possible. So when someone is just talking about vague possibilities and exciting things that could be, but it doesn't, to me, feel like it's grounded in reality or grounded in possibilities, then I can get impatient with that, and I want to stick with what's clear and what I can see in front of me.
If you hit obstacles, you know the pioneer is going to push through them. You know the pioneer is not afraid to have those tough conversations. And they're not thinking about people's feelings around them. They're thinking about how do we win as a team. They won't be aware of the hurt that they're causing.
Just because you don't intend to offend doesn't mean you don't. 5 voices also teaches you to look out for things in you that causes damage to your relationships. And once you know that, you can work with that.
John often saw further out than we did, had an idea that was incredibly relevant, but he wasn't able to communicate it in a way that we could hear. And we didn't do a good job of drawing it out of him. And so often we were slower to get to things rather than to take the time to draw that out from him. And as we've learned to do that, it's made a tremendous difference to the way that we work together as a team.
Maturity is recognizing your strengths and your tendencies, your weaknesses, but then also recognizing those people around you and how they function.
5 Voices is a great tool, but there are lots of other great tools out there as well. You know, there's Enneagram, there's DISC, there's Myers-Briggs, there's lots of these things. And what we need to do is to bring our best to any given situation and make space for others to bring their best as well. You know, then that makes a really strong teams. That's what makes it teams that work well together and in the end can really accomplish great things.